Hey everyone, well welcome back to Book Peer. I'm Paul.
And I'm Alice.
And we are so glad you're here with us today. If you like what you hear today, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel for more great content.
So Paul, we're diving into a book today that I think will resonate with a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. This one really hit home for me. It deals with something I think we all struggle with from time to time.
Feeling overwhelmed and stressed, right?
Exactly.
And it offers some really insightful advice, especially for women.
Yeah, I think a lot of the themes in this book are universal, but it definitely speaks to some of the unique pressures that women face.
Absolutely. So the book is called Burnout, and it introduces this really fascinating concept called human giver syndrome.
Human giver syndrome. I've never heard of that before. What is that exactly?
So it's this idea that there's this societal pressure, especially on women, to be the caregivers, the fixers, the ones who always put everyone else's needs first. Always giving.
Wrong with putting others before yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And while being caring and helpful is a wonderful quality, constantly prioritizing others can lead to some serious consequences.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like you end up neglecting your own well-being in the process.
Exactly. And that's when burnout sets in.
So the book actually breaks down burnout into 3 key components. What are those?
So you've got emotional exhaustion, feeling cynical and detached, and struggling to feel a sense of accomplishment.
Wow, so it's not just a feeling. There are like actual signs you can look for.
Right, it's not just in your head. There are real physical and emotional consequences.
What I found really interesting is that the book doesn't blame individuals for feeling burned out.
Absolutely. They emphasize how much of it stems from external pressures and societal expectations.
So you're not failing if you experience burnout.
Right. It's often a response to overwhelming circumstances.
It's like we're all in this pressure cooker of expectations.
Exactly. And the book also gets into the science of stress, which I found fascinating.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
So it turns out stress isn't just in our heads, it's a whole physical process.
Really?
Yeah, so when we face a stressful situation, our bodies go through this thing called a stress cycle.
A stress cycle, what's that?
So basically, your body releases hormones like adrenaline to help you cope with the stressor.
So it's like our body's natural fight or flight response.
Exactly. But here's the thing. We're supposed to complete that stress cycle.
What do you mean?
So after the stressful situation is over, your body needs to signal that it's safe to calm down and recover.
Okay, so what happens when we don't complete that cycle?
That's when you start to feel the real effects of burnout.
So if you're constantly bombarded by stress and you never get a break.
Exactly. Those stress hormones keep circulating and your body never gets the signal to relax.
So it's not enough to just try to chill out mentally.
Right. You have to actually do things that help your body complete the stress cycle.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, the book gives you 7 specific strategies to complete the stress cycle.
7 strategies. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So things like physical activity, breathing exercises, positive social interaction, laughter, affection, creative expression, and even crying.
Crying?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I always thought crying was a sign of weakness.
Well, it turns out it's actually a powerful way to release stress. It signals to your body that the stressful situation is over and it's safe to calm down.
Huh, I never thought of it that way.
It's like a natural reset button for your nervous system.
So it's not all about just managing stress. The book also talks a lot about finding meaning in your life.
Right. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And one of the best ways to combat burnout is to connect with something that gives your life meaning.
That makes sense. But finding meaning can sound kind of vague. What are some tangible ways to do that?
Well, the book talks about 3 main sources of meaning: pursuing goals that truly excite you, connecting to something bigger than yourself, like a cause or spirituality, and nurturing loving relationships.
Those are some really powerful anchors.
Yeah, and when you feel connected to something meaningful, it can give you the strength to deal with all the stress and pressure.
Absolutely. It's like having a reason to get up in the morning.
Exactly. And if you're enjoying this conversation so far, don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. We love hearing from you, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts, too.
That's so true. Burnout doesn't just affect us physically. It also takes a toll on our mental and emotional health.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing the book talks about that really hit home for me is this idea of the inner critic.
The inner critic? What's that?
It's that nagging voice in our heads that's constantly judging and criticizing us. The one that tells us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough.
Oh, yeah. I know that voice all too well.
Yeah.
It's like having a bully in your own mind.
Exactly. And the book suggests we need to learn to be kinder to ourselves, to cultivate self-compassion.
So instead of beating ourselves up, we should treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a friend.
Exactly. It's about being your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, speaking of self-doubt, the book also tackles this feeling a lot of people experience, especially in high-pressure environments, called imposter syndrome.
Oh, imposter syndrome. That feeling like you're a fraud and you're going to be found out any minute.
Yeah, I think we've all been there at some point.
Absolutely. And the book offers some really helpful strategies for overcoming those feelings of inadequacy and embracing your authentic self.
I think that's so important because those feelings can really hold you back from achieving your goals.
You're absolutely right. It's about recognizing your worth and believing in your abilities.
So true. I'm curious to hear more about those.
Okay, so the first one is physical activity.
Physical activity.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy intense, just something to get your body moving. Even a quick walk around the block can make a big difference.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Just getting that energy out.
Exactly. And then there's breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah, deep, slow breaths. When you're stressed, your breathing tends to get all shallow and rapid, so consciously slowing down your breath can really help calm your nervous system.
That makes sense. I know when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I sometimes catch myself holding my breath.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And deep breathing is such a simple yet powerful tool.
Okay, what's next?
Positive social interaction.
Social interaction.
Yeah, connecting with loved ones, spending time with people who make you feel good.
So it's not just about being alone and trying to relax. It's about actually engaging with others.
Right. Human connection is so important, especially when you're feeling stressed and burnt out.
Okay, that makes sense.
What else, Wash?
Laughter.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of a good laugh. It releases endorphins, reduces stress hormones, and can really shift your perspective.
I completely agree. Laughter really is the best medicine sometimes.
It really is. And then there's affection.
Affection.
Yeah, physical touch, like a hug or cuddling with a pet.
I love that. I'm a huge hugger myself.
Me too. It releases oxytocin, which is known as the bonding hormone.
Oh, wow. So there's actually a scientific reason why hugs feel so good.
There is. And then we have creative expression.
Creative expression.
Yeah, things like painting, writing, dancing, anything that allows you to tap into that creative energy.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
So easy to let those creative outlets fall by the wayside when you're busy and stressed, but they can be so therapeutic.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we have crying. Don't be afraid to let those tears flow. Crying is a natural stress reliever.
It's funny how we're often told not to cry, especially as women.
It's seen as a sign of weakness, but it's actually a really healthy way to process emotions.
Yeah, it's like a release valve.
Exactly. So those are the 7 strategies. And the great thing is that they're all relatively simple things that you can incorporate into your daily life.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's not about making huge changes. It's about finding small ways to take care of yourself.
Exactly. And if you're finding this helpful so far, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel for more insightful book discussions. We love hearing from you, so leave a comment below with your thoughts.
Absolutely. We love connecting with our listeners. And, speaking of things that can help with burnout, the book also talks a lot about the importance of meaning in our lives.
Yes. It's not just about managing stress. It's about finding that deeper sense of purpose.
I think that's so crucial. It's like having a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Exactly. And they talk about 3 main sources of meaning: pursuing ambitious goals that light you up, connecting with something larger than yourself, and nurturing loving relationships.
Those are such powerful anchors. And when you feel connected to something meaningful, it can give you the strength to face challenges.
Absolutely. It's like having a compass that guides you through difficult times.
I love that analogy. And one thing that can really get in the way of finding meaning is that inner critic we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, that voice can be so loud and so persistent.
It's like it's always trying to hold us back.
And the book really emphasizes the importance of self-compassion.
Yeah, instead of listening to that inner critic, we need to learn to be kinder to ourselves.
Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend.
And speaking of self-doubt, the book also talks about imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, imposter syndrome, that feeling of being a fraud, like you're going to be found out at any moment.
Yeah, I think especially in today's world with social media and everything, it's so easy to compare ourselves to others and feel like we're not good enough.
Absolutely. And the book offers some great advice on how to overcome those feelings of inadequacy.
Like what?
Well, it talks about the importance of recognizing your accomplishments, challenging those negative thoughts, and surrounding yourself with supportive people who believe in you.
Those are all really important. And, one thing that really resonated with me in the book was the call for broader societal change.
Yeah, they don't just focus on individual strategies for managing stress and overcoming self-doubt. They also highlight the systemic issues that contribute to burnout, particularly for women.
Exactly. It's not just about fixing ourselves, it's about creating a world that's more supportive and equitable.
And they offer some concrete steps we can take to make that happen.
Like what?
Things like challenging gender norms, promoting equality, advocating for policies that support working families.
It's about creating a culture where burnout isn't the norm.
Exactly. And I think that's such an important message. One thing that really stuck out to me was how they talked about rest.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, we often think of rest as just, collapsing on the couch after a long day.
Right, just zoning out.
Exactly. But they encourage us to think about rest more actively.
Active rest. What does that even mean?
It's about being intentional with your downtime and doing things that actually nourish and recharge you.
Okay, so not just vegging out in front of the TV.
Right. It's about engaging in activities that bring you joy and help you de-stress.
Well, give me some examples. What are some active rest activities?
Well, it could be anything from having a meaningful conversation with a loved one to spending time in nature.
Oh, okay, I like that.
Or maybe listening to music that uplifts you, or even just taking a few moments to savor a cup of tea.
It's about being present and mindful, even when you're relaxing.
Exactly. And recognizing that rest is an essential part of a healthy and balanced life.
I think that's such an important message. We live in such a go-go-go culture that we often forget to slow down and take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when we don't prioritize rest, that's when burnout can really set in.
So true. Well, I think this book has given us a lot to think about.
It really has. It's packed with so many practical strategies and insights for managing stress, overcoming self-doubt, and creating a more meaningful life.
And it's a great reminder that we're not alone in this journey.
We're all in this together.
Exactly. And there's always something we can do to take care of ourselves and support each other.
Absolutely. If you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, I highly recommend checking out this book. It might just change your life.
Well said. And if you enjoyed our discussion today, don't forget to give this episode a like and subscribe to our channel for more insightful book discussions.
And be sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the book. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, take care of yourselves.
And remember, prioritize your well-being.